Morning, December 7th, 1941. Yeah, of course we know it's 2018. It's not even been 100 years since Pearl Harbor occurred. I was thinking about what I wanted to say about Pearl Harbor. God knows I've written stories about it all my life as a journalist. And I could tell you the things that happened there, just like any good reporter. It was an unbelievable thing to happen, a very sinister attack by the Japanese people at that point in history. And reminds me of a few women I know. A couple I used to know, I think, more. Sinister. What a word. Calculating, figuring it out, self-preservationists. And in the case of the Japanese at this point in history, they wanted to own the world. Hirohito had dreams just like Hitler. They just went about it in different ways to own the planet and have it all and all the resources. You see this if you look at the Russians as well. Hitler killed between 6 and 8 million Jews. Stalin probably killed 30 million. We allied him. Lesser of the evils. Russia didn't have the technology to own the world. Hitler did. And that's the difference. And Hitler did own it. He owned Europe for a while. And the Japanese fairly well owned the Pacific. You go to islands like Corregidor or Bataan or Guadalcanal. I think it took 8 months to make. Ernie Pyle was killed by a stray round off Guadalcanal. Ernie Pyle himself, walking all the way through Europe with the troops, writing it up. I want to point out here, too, Andy Rooney was in World War II, too, as a reporter. And I like Andy Rooney, but he was on a Stars and Stripes train somewhere with an air conditioner or something, you know what I mean? If they'd been invented by then, I think they just about had been invented. That's interesting when you think about it. How long has AC been around? Well, it started when I'd set a 5-pound block of ice in front of a fan in a catch pan. First air conditioner. Early human. Now, the attack on Pearl Harbor itself, all the battleships we had were sunk. I think 2 were still out to sea. There might have been a third one. So we had to totally rebuild. And, nearly 2,500 lives lost. And a horrible time in history. Today, people, young people in particular, don't seem to understand it. They always tell me they were taught World War II history in school, meaning high school, and but they can never recant it, hardly. I mean, I get one now and again, usually a male at that, who, sometimes I get a female, but not very often, that can recant what happened at Pearl Harbor or what happened at the Battle of the Bulge, At the Battle of the Bulge in Europe, we lost 300 Sherman tanks in one day. 300. So many people died, it's unbelievable. But you tell the young people today, like in the Civil War, Antietam Creek in Maryland, also known as the Battle of Sharpsburg, to the south, they named it by the town. The north named it by the waterway. And at Antietam, there were 20,000 men killed in 24 hours by musket and sword and cannon. 20,000 men in 24 hours. Young people today can't seem to equate that very well, so you have to give them those pictures because they can't see. And then hopefully after time, if they visit these places, I think you actually have to go out in your life and fire a gun, shoot a firearm, and understand what it's like. And then understand that times a million, and now they're shooting at you. And you got to understand the levity war brings and brought to that generation. I think there's only 4 veterans left who are at Pearl Harbor, and I think 2 of them are there today, all in their 90s. The reality is we don't want history to be lost, just like George Santayana, the Spanish-American philosopher. George Santayana, those who do not remember the past are destined to repeat it. And that includes Pearl Harbor. And for the stretch, we have to say here, because it always comes up, What about Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Well, you know, it was an atomic bomb. Einstein himself told Oppenheimer, we wouldn't be able to turn back. It would be the way that we could win the war, but things will never be the same. Einstein told him things will never be the same after the bomb. But people got to understand it. You got to go to Iwo Jima in the Pacific. You got to see these places. You can do it all online now. Pictures and everything, video. You should try to understand all the battles of the Pacific. The Bataan Death March and Corregidor were probably two of the worst. Iwo Jima was a slaughterhouse. But it took till Midway Island, Wake Island and that Midway Island, just for us to be able to turn the toll around that the attack had taken on us. It took a long time. So a lot of people died. A lot of people were wounded, many permanently, but they got through. The World War II generation is one of the strongest ones in the last 100 years. There's no doubt about it. World War I generation was pretty intense too. A lot of good people though. And so today we remember Pearl Harbor. Try to look at the significance and try to understand what war's really like. We're in an 18-year one right now. Iraq to Afghanistan to Syria. You know, we're not emailing that in. We're not mailing it in. We're there on the ground every day. People getting hurt, shot, sometimes killed, as we see. It's reality. You need to remember the past or you'll repeat it. You take care, y'all. Have a good day.